all these images on the slide are ways that people, or things that can contribute to feeling excluded in society. So I won't go through all of them, but because I feel that people have kind of understood why I've put these on here. But to pick out a few, with a hairdryer, for example, if you go into gyms or if you go into certain spaces, hotels, they'll have hairdryers there. But if you have curly hair, often it's quite hard to use them without a pick, which is a comb attachment or a diffuser head. So I think the only reason I've ever used a hairdryer in a hotel room is to try and, if there's not an iron, to try and get the wrinkles out the clothes rather than actually using it on my hair. We also then have some tights. So it's quite hard. It's become more common recently, but it's quite hard to get skin-colored tights or nude-colored, to be fair, nude-colored clothing of any type if you have a darker skin tone. And when you go into shops, there'll be things that are labeled nude. And I always have question marks over nude for who? Who does that color or skin type? What is the assumption here? Then we also have a set of stairs, which is the bottom middle image. So I think with the law changing over the past, I say 10, 20 years, I would assume, or had assumed, that things have become a lot more accessible, and they have in terms of being able to access some areas and access some stores, for example. But from working with para athletes and also from my own experience I mentioned earlier, when I ruptured my Achilles and was in a wheelchair for a bit, it's quite hard to get around in places that you feel like it should be easy to get around in. So for example, if you think about the tube stations, there are so many tube stations which just do not have lifts or working lifts. I remember going to the dentist and I couldn't actually get to the dentist because it was up 2 flights of stairs and there was no other way to get in. So it's not as easy as you might think it would be to access places in society if you have a disability, physical or mental often. And then the one at the right, on the right, bottom right, is alcohol. So if you are from certain religious backgrounds, so for example, if you're Muslim, it's frowned upon to be or to sit at a table where alcohol is served. And equally, there's often a culture at work where people are expected to spend extra time outside of work, socializing with friends, colleagues. There might be your friends, there might not be, but socializing with colleagues. And if you're a parent, for example, have other responsibilities, and maybe that actually, you need to go and look after your children or do childcare duties. So that can also sometimes be a barrier or be something that makes others feel like they're not necessarily included in society. I can see a couple more things in there. So I saw David saying sticking plaster is superficial remedy to lack of equality and diversity. That's a really interesting point, actually, because when I put the plaster on there, I was thinking more around, I didn't actually realize that plasters were supposed to be skin toned until I don't know, maybe within the last 10 years. I just assumed that I just was confused. I was just, why are these plasters some odd color? And then I realized when my partner, who's of lighter skin tone, put it on and it actually matched his skin tone, that was the reason for it. But that's a good point, because sometimes there are things that are put in place to try and support equality and diversity that are not necessarily always as helpful as maybe they could be. So thanks for also raising that too.